All right. Good evening once again, everyone. You're all welcome to Digital Z Hub. All right. Thank God that we have all installed our IDE, which I told us in the last class, as an application that we aid us writing and executing our program or codes using Python. Just a quick recap on what we have covered so far. The last class was basically introduction, where I taught us the definition of Python. And then I also mentioned some of the advantages of learning Python as a programming language. A part of the key features of Python that I mentioned were they told us that Python is versatile in terms of libraries provision. It has a lot of libraries that actually helps us to use Python for different uh, operations. And then um, we talk about the IDEs, and I said the IDE are simply a customized application that helps every programmer to write and execute their codes. And I recommended two IDE based on the reason why we are learning Python. We are actually learning Python for data analysis. And I told us that I will be starting with understanding Python basic programming before we can start relating it in data analysis. That is to give us a good background to actually work on. And then because of that purpose, I said that the pure Python basic training will be done with the PyCharm as one of the Python main customized IDE. So this particular IDE is actually customized just for writing Python code, though it has other some programming languages extensions which can help you to utilize this where the need arises. We also said that I'm going to also expose us to another the most preferred IDE when it comes to application of Python for data analysis. But because we are not starting with the analytics aspect of Python, we decided to work with this particular IDE, which is the PyCharm. Now, once we get to the points where we want to start using it for analyzing data, we'll now switch from this one to the Anaconda Jupyter Notebook. All right, so we define Python as a high-level programming language that has a very simple syntax. In other words, the rules of writing Python code, they are very simple. So in this session, I have outlined topics that I wanted to cover, but because of we have used almost an hour for the completion of the installation, we may not be able to cover as much as planned here, but we will start and then continue from there in our next meeting. So we're going to start with, now that we have set up our IDE, I will just quickly explain how you work around the IDE a little bit, and then I will now start teaching us the basic things we need to start with. when learning Python. All right, so just as you can see on my screen, this is the PyCharm IDE providing us a development environment. In other words, the whole of this area I am navigating at is designed for you to write Python code and also be able to execute. I told us something the other time. Every programmer must know, must identify an IDE that he or she uses. And then he also must understand how the IDE works. It's very important. So that is why I want to start with exposing us to the IDE interface so that we know where we can access what. Now, the whole of this place is your development environment. That is, this is just like your Microsoft Word page where you are allowed to make your input. So this is where you are allowed to write your code. And this development environment is programmed in a way that every code that is written on it can be executed using this icon. So this icon you are seeing is the icon for running your code or for executing your code. Remember, I just mentioned it now. Writing or programming involve writing of the code and also testing, which we refer to as execution of the code. Now, in between writing and execution, errors can be generated. So the process of writing and executing code in programming, you should know that what we call debugging that can come in. Debugging is you acknowledging that there could be error. There could be error when you write a program and you execute it, and you expect that program to give you a certain output, but the reverse is the case. Then you must stay on that. You must find out why the program is not producing the expected result. So that entire process of finding the solution, of correcting the program is called debugging. All right, so that is why we need to understand the terminal or the console. Now, if you click on this icon, you will see what? This service. Let me start from here. This is Python console. So once I click here, you will see this particular part that just came up. Right? So the whole of this part is your console. So your console is a mini development environment, but where you are working with this, then your console becomes where you see the outputs. Because right now, we do not have Python GUI, which is called Python Graphical User Interface. You know, when you develop an app, the app is expected to have user interface so that the user does not see the back end. So the whole of this environment we are in is regarded as the back end of your programming. So we are supposed to create a user interface, in other words, where they will see the result of what you have programmed. But because we are not learning Python for application development, we want to be seeing our outputs right in this same word, development environment, but in a different section, which is the reason why I brought this. Even though you do not call this particular aspect out, definitely once you execute a code, it will automatically what? Call it out. I just want us to know that it exists. Now we have Python packages. Python packages, they are like plugins. If you observe very well, while the PyCharm after the installation, you notice that there was or there were some messages that came up talking about interpreter, and then after some time you notice it was configuring all those things. they are packages, or we call them library. We call them library. Now, at Deepin, we are performing our analysis here. You will see how we will be importing these packages, but we will also learn that when we start analyzing data under the prescribed environment for analyzing data with Python. So we have the terminal. This is another option. So the terminal is just like your Microsoft window prompts. Okay, so where you can also write in the program, let's say DOS, but we don't need all this. So I just want us to understand what some of these things are. Now, when you write a code and you are trying to factor what could be the problem, why a particular error is generated, you can from here debug. But mind you, Python is an AI language. In fact, it's the most used AI programming language. So for that reason, Python coding, one of the reasons why it's simple is that when errors are generated, it will guide you, it will outline sometime exactly where the error is coming from so that you can easily debug it, unlike some of the old programming language. Now, now that we understand that, so this is your file structure. The whole of this place is your file structure. So I have two different files, like I was telling you how to click the other time. You can see once you click there, you have access to your file. So from here, you can come and create a new project, and then you can create a new file here. So it is here that I click that enable me to create this prosper.py. Now, let me also talk about extension. As a programmer, whenever you are writing a program, you should always consider the extension for saving that file, because the extension actually defines the language you use. For example, all Python files, when they are saved, should be saved as what? The name of the file, then period. That dot in programming is called period. Then the extension here is py, which means what? Python. So once I see something like this, it tells me that this is Python file. That is what it denotes. All right, I hope that is sorted out. So now I have explained where you can execute your file. So the next thing I want to talk about is comments in programming. So you can start writing comment in programming. Comment in programming. So I am going to be using comments to be explaining what I'm doing per time to us. So let me quickly define comments. Now, comments in programming generally represents just narration. And what does that mean? They are non-executable statements. I repeat, comments are just narration, which are non-executable statements. What do I mean by that? For example, in Python, how do I tell Python that do not bother yourself running this code? This code is just a comment. And if it's just a comment, it's just for my consumption or the third-party consumption. All right? So let's assume that you are working with a company, and of course, you are going to work as a team. You are not going to work alone. So the job will be what? Splitted. So you might be the person that will start the first part and then hand it over to the second person. Now, the question is that when you are done writing your own parts, it is expected that you use comment to explain what you did, so that when that code gets to the next person, the person will be able to decode, will be able to interpret what you did without having to reach out to you. So that is one of the benefits of comments. So that is why I say comments are just for code explanation, which I qualify there as what? Narration. You are only trying to narrate what you did. It's not for the program to consume. But how do you? There must be a sign or a symbol that you must specify so that when Python sees it, Python will understand, oh, what you are saying is that this is for you, not for him. So how do you do that? You hold down the shift button on your keyboard and press 3. So once you press that, what you get is a hash. Okay, so any write-up that comes after this hash, Python will treat it as a comment, which means is a way of you, a communication you have established that what? Please do not bother yourself executing this section. So I'll be using comments so that as you are writing in your notes, I'll be using comment to highlight my topic. I'll be using comments to highlight what I am doing. That is why I have to start by making us to understand comment concepts in programming. It's not just Python. And let me quickly chip in this advice to you. But eventually you attempt to learn another programming language. Most of the things I'm going to teach us in Python, 50% or 30% of them, you will see them what? You will see them repeating. You will see them what? Surfacing in those programming languages. That is why the only time that you find it difficult is when you are learning a programming language for the very first time. Every other one you will learn after the first one is assumed that you have 30% to 40% general programming concepts already. All right, so you will see comments even if you are learning Java. Think of any programming language, you will see comments being used. So it's not just for Python explanation. So like I said, we are starting with what? Python comments. And I've defined that, right? So the whole of this line is a Python comment. So after the definition I've given, if you want to write example, you copy the whole of that line. So now that we understand what comment is, so let me ask a question. Are we good with that explanation or any question before I shift my focus to the next topic?
I don't understand it very well.
You said? Please speak out louder so that I can hear you, please. Do we understand?
I said I don't understand that comment. That comment in programming, I don't understand it very well.
Okay, so make sure you don't understand it or you did not get the definition. Probably you were writing.
Yeah, even the definition, I did not get it.
You did not? Okay, let me just recap to avoid wasting our time. Now, you know, Python is a programming language, and every language has their mode of what? Branding, or the way they are spoken. Now, I understand that some of us, if not for every one of us here, this is the first time we are learning programming language. So what we are saying is that in programming language, or in this case, let's say in Python, comment means narration, just explanation. It's not a code, it's not like code that the program will run or execute. It's just for describing what you are doing. I hope that is clear. Let's get it just as simple as that. Did you understand it now?
Yes.
Okay, so like what I've written so far now, and if I click here now, if I run it now, I ask you, did you see any output? Nothing. Nothing was outputted because what you have written here, Python did not bother itself to execute it. Why? Because just this hash that you have written, it signifies that it is a comment. So you have sent a message to Python that, please, this is just for me or for the person I'm going to send this code to. So do not bother yourself about it. All right? So that is comment. Now, the next thing we want to look at is, so I'm going to use comment. So please, whatever I am writing with comment, you are expected to transfer it to your notes. So the next comment, I'm using comment. The next topic is Python outputs or printing command. Python output or printing command. So what do we mean by Python output or printing command? Now, almost every programming language has a function that helps them to display the result of your program. So if, for example, I want to print welcome to DigitalZ Hub, I want it to be outputted here because I am getting my output from the console. But if it is an application I am developing, I will now channel this output. Instead of displaying here, it will now be displayed in the user's interface. So now, how will I tell Python that, okay, the code or the program I have written, I want to see the results? You have to do that by calling a function. You have to call a function. Are you with me? So that function is what we want to discuss now. So for example, now I want to display welcome to DigitalZ Hub. So I'm going to tell Python print, you see, there is what we call keyword in programming. Keyword, in case you are writing it down, keywords, they are inbuilt properties, or they are inbuilt functions. That is, when the program was developed, the writer of Python has a memory. Every language you are using has a memory. And the memory of every programming language is called the library or the cache or the library of that language. That is why we say that a program library is a program function storage. That is what? Before the program is ready, they have already created a lot of things and they have integrated them in the program. Now, the reason is that they are trying to make it easy. I remember far back 2003, when I wanted to learn web development. Then you can count in a whole town the number of programmers or web developers. You may not count more than 3. But today, if you count in a server here now, you count unlimited word programmer. Why? Because programming is now easy. It wasn't like that before. There was nothing like keyword. So everything you have to manually cram it or know it or write it. But you can see that as soon as I wrote word print, it brought out the keyword. So now is a function. So there is what we call parenthesis brackets. So once you attach the parenthesis bracket, it means you have acknowledged that that particular line of code is a function. And if it is a function, it needs certain information to consume for an output. So whatever you put inside the parenthesis bracket is referred to as the function input. The function input or the function parameter. So you cannot just run it. If I run it like this now, nothing is outputted because we have not given it anything to consume. So now we are still going to talk about that more in our next class. I thought time will permit me to get to that, but definitely we will iron that out in the next class. Now, there is what we call, now as we open the bracket now, I want to give Python, that print command, certain information to work with. Now, whatever I give, or those information that I could give to the function to work with, can now be classified as data type, which we are going to discuss better in our next meeting. So data type is like they are the information, different kind of information that we use in programming. It's a language, just like Igbo, it's just like Isoko, is a language. All these languages has what the information they use is speaking them. So, the rules on how you communicate this information to either your variable or to this kind of printing command is based on the type of data, the kind of information you are giving. For example, I want Python to print to the users. Let's say this is an application now. When somebody come here, there's a button, just like the way you click on transfer. And then, you know, if you are using like all this OPay or Money Point, you click on a button. That button has been attached with a whole bunch of what function that once you click on it, the reaction is that click on transfer. The reaction is that I should provide a text box for the input to enter the bank name, or they must have listed the bank name. The person can search it out. It should also provide a text box where the person can enter the amount he or she wants to transfer. So the same thing here. So I want to print to the user, welcome to DigitalZ Hub. Now the question is, the DigitalZ Hub, what type of data it is? Is a string. There is what we call string, which I'm going to elaborate on in our next slide, like I said. String. So string is a text for now. Just know it to be text. Anytime I use the word string in this training, just know that I'm talking about text. What is text? Like Prosper is a text. 40 is not a text, it's a number. So welcome to DigitalZ Hub is a text. Because it is a text, you must acknowledge it in quotation, either single or double. So which means that I must bring in what? The quotation. And then before I can now write what? Welcome to DigitalZ Hub. Now, this is actually what I want the command print to print out to the user. So if I click here now, you see what happened here? So that welcome to what? DigitalZ Hub. Now, the moment I put the hash here, if I put the hash here now, I have automatically switched to comment. If I run it, nothing is going to happen. So you can now see that the program understands the difference between live code and what? Comment. That is what I'm trying to explain. I hope that is taken. Please let me get a response, at least from one person.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now that we understand what is the print, we are still going to perform some printing logic. All right. Now remember that what we are learning now is pure Python. This has nothing to do with data analysis. This is the general knowledge of Python that everybody must have. All right. So now, let's look at, I hope you are writing your topic. The topic I just concluded is what? Python output or printing command. Now you know that, oh, if you want to output something, you want to print out a number, you want to print out a text, or you want to print out your name, you can now use what? Print. You can say print, let's say I want to print my name. So I can easily come here and say what? Print, my name is a text. So for that reason, let me try single quote now. I can say Eguero Prosper. So if I run it now, you see that what? I print out my name. Right? So let us give her a few minutes to join back. While we are waiting,
you can be trying some of these things with your ID over there, please. All right, so like I said, let's look at some printing logic in Python. Some printing logic. So all of this is to get us familiar with some of the basic things you should know in Python. For example, I want to print Egweru Prosper 3 times. Egweru Prosper 3 times. So which means that I am supposed to write it this way. Let me just copy, Control C, Control V, Control V. So I have to write it like this just because I want to print Egweru Prosper, Egweru Prosper, Egweru Prosper. Now, this is like you are over consuming your programming memory. Since the task is to print the same words you are repeating, you can as well use one printing command to print this without you using this space. Without you using this space, you can achieve the same thing with just one line of your code. So how do we do that? I'm actually using that to teach us a concept, which is called what? So I'll use comment to explain that. I'll use comment, make sure you are documenting. So you write Python new line print. That is exactly what I want to teach us. Because what happened there is that it printed in a different line. If you have maybe a collection of words in the same line and you want to break them, just like the way those words that I printed initially were broken into three lines. So there is a notation that we can use to tell Python that, okay, from where you have this sign, take it to the next line. So once we add that particular notation, then Python knows that you are saying that whatever that comes after it should be printed on a new line. So how do we communicate that? So this is just the simple syntax. So like I said, we are using one print command. Okay, so I want to start with welcome. Okay, let's say that same Prosper. Okay, let's say Prosper. That same word that we want to print 3 times. Right, so this is the first one. The first one. So what I will introduce here is backward slash like this, and then I will put what? Letter N. That slash and N, you are saying that the next word should be printed in a different line. That is what you are saying. So that is what I am trying to explain. That slash N means what? New line. That is what? Take it to the next line. So once you have done that, then you can now bring in the next one. So the next one will now be, let's say, I'm still within the string. Each time I use the word string, I'm referring to what? To the single quote or double quotes. So let's say what? Egweru Prosper. Then I'll bring in another word, backward slash and N. So that is the second one. So then, of course, the last one will just be Egweru Prosper. So if I print this, look at what is going to happen. You see that the same result that we got the other time. So what I have tried to achieve is that I don't want to consume the program memory unnecessarily. So instead of me using 3 different print commands, I have used just one and I've achieved the same thing. I hope that is clear. Any question? Any question? I believe we are all on the same page. So let me give us, are we still on the same page? I want to give us like 5 minutes to try this particular one. 5 minutes is even too much. Let me give us 2 minutes to try this one. 2 minutes. I'll be coming on your screen simultaneously. I want to start with Mrs. Oyikosi. Please share your screen. Let me just quickly assess, just to be sure that we are following before I proceed quickly. Share your screen. The rest, make sure you are working. I'll come to your screen briefly also. Please kindly do that fast. If you are not ready, let me go to the next person. Are you on it? Okay, you are coming up now. All right. Have you executed it? All right, so perfect. All right, so let me come on the Mr. Ambrose screen quickly. So Mrs. Oyikosi, you can stop sharing. Let me come on the Mr. Ambrose. Let me also confirm if you are doing something briefly, quickly. Admin, I am coming to you, so make sure that you are performing the same tasks. You are getting a lot of errors here. Right. Admin, get ready to come on your screen.
Shut up. Shut up.
Okay, so admin, let's come on your screen.
Okay, I was even watching self, trying to do those things maybe later. I didn't even know that we are supposed to be doing it because I'm only watching with my laptop.
Sorry, I can't get what you just said.
I say that I'm watching with my laptop, that I wasn't doing this thing. I was waiting
Okay.
for the program
Okay.
to finish so I
Anyway,
can
let's
do
proceed. Make sure that once the video gets to you, I believe you will be needful. And please, I want to really appeal that we should take our assignments and classwork very serious. Very serious, please, because it will get to a point whereby if I notice we are not responding to assignments, it might lead to postponing classes until you sort it out. So please, let's try as much as possible to. We have an outstanding project defense. So one of these days, I believe you should still be working on your project. For those of us that have finished Excel, one of these days I will just dedicate an entire meeting for us to present our
Can you
content.
can you write out to us what you want in the project? Can you write it down, as in put it on the group?
Okay, I think I promised that. Maybe I forgot. Thank God you reminded. I will try and send it. I remember I promised that the other time. Just keep my. I would try and do that.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's look at something else. There is what we call debugging, which I mentioned the other time. There is no programmer that does not face issues or challenges whenever he or she is coding. There is nobody that programs that probably develop an app from the beginning to the end without encountering what challenges. So which means that one of the skills we need to learn while learning programming is for us to also learn how to debug. For example, I am going to ask us to debug this because from the first class, I told us that one of the direct benefits of being a programmer is that it increases your creativity and your problem-solving ability. And that happens because you debug. You run into some challenges where you are coding that must have stretched you that will have stretched your thinking ability. So for example, if I write what Prosper and I put this here, and I put, let's say this here. If I run it, I'm going to get error. So the question, what I want to teach us now is that the logic, how you can actually debug. Python is an AI language, which I've told you before. So you shouldn't find it difficult to debug like other old languages. It's one of the reasons why it's known as one of the simplest programming language to learn. Because the AI in it will always help you to describe the problem. It is not less for you to understand the logic, how you can interpret, how you can trace the suggested problem or solution to the code. Now look at what it's saying here. Syntax error, that is the problem. So number one, I have already seen the category of the error. Once I see syntax error, I should know that the format of my code is wrong first. So the problem is from the format of what you wrote. So once you acknowledge that, you now take the next step to what exactly is it saying? You now come here. And Python have even told that what the problem is at line 7. Other languages will not tell you all that. You will just see the error. Now, and you can see Python has pointed to, this is the AI in it now, has pointed to where the error is. So it is not left for you to say, oh, this is where the error is. The moment you resolve that error, the error is, we did not recognize this as a string to Python. So Python is saying that this is not a string. All right, so if I remove it now, and let's say we write it properly, and I say what? Prosper, and I run it, the error has gone. All right, so that is one thing you should learn to also do. As we write your code, you get an error, learn to know how to trace the error from the terminal or from the console. So that is one thing I want us to know. So the next thing we want to look at now is what we call the input function. Input function. Make sure you are writing your notes. Input. Input function. Input function. So let me see how I can quickly summarize this, because I want to make sure that probably in the next class we will get to data type. Now, when you executed this code, you have already known the person by supplying Prosper. What about if it happened to be an app? Probably there's a form that you design that you would like your customer to enter their name. And then that name will be collected and stored somewhere within the program or sent to the back end so that whenever you visit the back end, you can see the names that have been submitted. So if I ask us now, as we ran this code the other time, this Prosper that it outputted, where is this stored within the program? Nowhere. It's just a display value. That is number one. It means that if I shut down this program now, there is no place where I can call this Prosper from next time, which is not the standard of coding. That is number one. Number two, let's assume that I don't even know who is going to what? Who is going to fill the form. I don't know the name of the person yet. So I now want to create a container, a placeholder that I'm now providing a container that whoever we put his or her name should put it in this container, then I can now display it here. So this just using just print, you are printing what is already known. But where you want to print what you don't know, then you use the impute function. So as the name implies, impute is a Python function that is used to collect user information and probably store them somewhere to be a variable or somewhere within the program. So for example, instead of me writing the Prosper, I want to use impute to collect it from the user. So I will now simply say what? Print. I will say print. Get the logic now. Inside the print, I will now supply the impute. Impute is a function on its own. Now, the impute that I'm putting here is I am putting a kind of a placeholder. That is a word that somebody will see and know what he or she is expected to put in the container. I will say, okay, I want to know your name. What is your name? What is your name? What is your name? So it's a question because I want to collect the name. Now, if I run it now, look at what happened. It's asking you, what is your name? Now, if I come outside the question mark and type Prosper and then press enter here, see that what? It collected the Prosper and then printed it. Unlike when you have already know the person's name and then you supply the name direct here. So the message is that you can decide to provide a container, which is called an impute, so that they can impute. I can collect their age. I can come here now and say, okay, print impute. What is your age? And then if I print the same thing, then I'll come here and then if I say, okay, my age is a number, where I put this and I press this, you see that what? It printed it out. I hope that is understood. So let me also give us 1 minute to try it for those of us that are trying. 1 minute, because we'll so round up. 1 minute to try it. So any one of you, let me come on the Mr. Ambrose screen and see what's happening here quickly. Quickly. While that is going on, others, you can be doing the same thing. right? All right, so perfect, perfect. Mrs. Let me quickly come on the Mrs. Oikos. I believe you should also working. Please, can you quickly share your screen? Let's see what you have done there.
This thing, though I'm following,
You said?
I am yet to get it clear. Like, though I am following what you are doing,
Okay.
but I'm yet to understand its essence, the reason for it. Goes on, like the way it is in the previous topics, it was clear. The purpose was clear, but maybe as the topic goes on, I will understand why we are having it uh, displayed on the, is it the display board now? What is in what we are doing and the results I'm seeing here, who is it for and what is supposed to be done with it. I don't know if you understand me. Everything is still
Okay.
looking a bit vague.
Yes, you are learning the programming language, like I said. Just like you want to use let's say you want to speak Igbo, and you actually want to you go to the market and speak Igbo to somebody to buy a product. That is where you feel that you are making sense, because at that point you are able to speak the language and able to purchase something from the market. But before you
Yeah,
get to the point where you can speak it to buy that thing, you need to understand the language. So what is happening to you now is because we have not been implementing it for data analysis where you start seeing results that will make sense to you. But before then, you need to understand the basis of the language. That is what we are learning. Like come, go. Then later now you now combine them, come,
okay.
go, and go and get. That is what is happening. That is why it's looking as if what are we learning? Is the language we are trying to cross, then we will not stand, and then we will not run. So that is how you learn the programming language. That is how you learn it. You understand
Yes.
the basic,
Yes, thank you. Thank
and
you.
then so Mrs. Oyiko, I think you are done with your assignment. So right? Okay,
Yes, sir.
let me quickly round up. Let me round up this so that it's already past 11. So we are running up now. So we're just going to do one more task and then we end the session. So please make sure that you join on time. The next session, I think I will try as much as possible. Anyway, the 2 hours will be enough for us to really go far if we all join on time. So now, this particular name that, let's say when we printed, we use what I've explained is the role of this input. So like now from what I've explained now you know when next you open your OPay app or you open your Money Points or maybe any of those fintech app, and they give you a box to type in something. From this class now, you don't know how they created that box. They use what? An input. So that is one thing you should take home from today's class. Now, or probably you enter a website and you see a form. You see all those text boxes, enter your name, your first name, your second name, your email. Now you understand how those boxes were created. Now, I don't want to output just the person's name. I want to add greeting. For example, now I want to say, welcome, Prosper. So I am going to attach, I'm going to pre-design or develop the welcome. Then I'm now waiting for the name the person will put in. So if the person put in Peter, it will now become welcome Peter. If the person put in Rita, it will now become what? Welcome Rita. So how do we program that? So it will now be print. It's still part of what we are learning, but we are just changing the logic. So that particular aspect that you want to print together with the name the person is going to give you, you recognize this as a string first. So which is going to be what? Welcome. But I don't know the name yet. Then I'll now come outside this string. They will call concatenation. That is what I'm bringing now. I'm Johnny. That is the meaning of what? Concatenation in programming. Johnny. And that is done most time, depending on the language you are using, most time with dots, most time with what? Plus. So I'm bringing in plus to concatenate. That is, I want to concatenate welcome to the input that will be collected. So here I will now bring in the input. Now remember that it's a function on its own. Then what are you collecting that will be attached to the welcome? I'll say, okay, what is your name? What is your name? All right. So if I execute it now, you see what happened here? That means what? There's a code that was running. So if I execute it, you have what? What is your name? Now, if I enter my name, let's say what? Aguero. I press enter. You now get what? What do I have here? I'm supposed to have, let me stop this one so that we can focus on that. So stop this first. Then comment this to avoid that conflict. Just for us to know if our code is working. So you can see what I'm easily doing with the comment. If I come here now and stop the training, let me see, run again. So I have what? What is your name? Then my name is Prosper. Can you see now? Welcome what? Prosper. Welcome Prosper. I have already programmed this. Remember how I capture it. Make sure that you write it in your note. So you acknowledge it as a string first. So finally, I think you should note it down, because even if I start it, I will not be able to complete it. Help me to write it down. So in our next meeting, we are going to start with Python variable. Variable concepts. We are going to be looking at this. So make sure that you are in that class, because that is where the whole thing will start making more sense to us. Because all these that we have printed now, if I shut down this app now, you can't find it anywhere. But in the next class, I'm going to teach us how, after collecting this name, we want the name to be stored in a particular place that we can always reach out to whenever we need it. That will take us to variable concept. So do we have question? Question, please. Any question? Admin? Any question?
No question for now till I practice it.
Okay, so the video will get to you, and then you try and go through it. For those of you that have not executed all this, when the video gets to you, the next class, the first thing I'm going to check, I want to see that you have written all this code. So make sure that you sort that out before that. Then remember, for your class, we are still having Excel. So I'm going back to Excel probably
this weekend. So you get a
Okay.
link for what to continue with yourself. Because this class only holds Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the next meeting will be Tuesday.
Okay,
All
sir.
right. All right. Thank
This
you, everyone. Okay, sir.
this talk now, all these things we did, how do we save now?
Yes, they are saving automatically as you are working. Now,
Okay, so anytime.
once you open the app, the next time you open the app, you launch the app. Let's say you come here now, you open it like this, you double click on it. Once it's open, it's going to automatically open your previous window like this. You will meet everything there.
How do
Okay.
I, like mine is showing script.py. How do I maybe rewrite, change it to a text?
Can you share your screen now? Let me quickly sort that out. Then every other person should also check if you are having the same thing, so I don't have to attend to you separately.
I see. It's showing script.py.
No, I'm not
How do
seeing
I
your screen
rename?
yet. It's coming. Yeah. Where is it?
This top
Yes,
script.py.
yes. Now, when you were creating that file, you did not specify unique name. So we pick from that default name. Remember, there were a lot of framework that came out. One was Jupyter Notebook, and I asked you to click on that one that have scripts. Now, what you do next time, go to those 3 lines, those 4 lines, just like I was telling the other person the other time. So let's say you want to create a new file to start all over. You click there. Then you will see what? New project. You will see new project. Up, up, up. Let's go with new project first. In that new project, you
Should
can
I?
create new, yes, you can create new file. Click on it. Click on it. Good. Now you see where you see the last part, you can see Python. You click on this option. Those options, create Git repository is optional, but you can turn them on. Turn all those options. Turn them on. Turn them on. Now, the name of the file is Python project. As you can see it at the top under the URL. The name of the file is Python project. Now, do you have another button down there? Because I'm not seeing the whole part of the screen. Do you have another button down there?
Create. The only
Down.
button is create.
Yeah, click on that create. Click on it. Click on it. Now, you say this window or new window. Select new window. Select new window. Let it create a new one entirely. Good. So that will bring you here. Now, to create a file so that you can give it that name. This is just like a project. Under this project, you can create different files for different probably tasks. Now, good. And it has come with a default file. This very one is a default file, which is always named as main.py. Now, if you now want to create your own file, the one you can name, while you are here now, while you are here, you see that project icon. Look at it here. Yes. No. Click there. Let me see. No, that one is this option that came up. That folder, the folder beside it, Yes, click on it. Click on it again. Open up. All right. Now go. Now you see one plus. That line where you have project, you see plus and cancel icon. See plus.
Yeah.
Click on that plus. Good. New file directory. Good. Now you specify that it's Python file that you want to create. These are different. Click on the first one that says Python file. Click on it. Then you type the name here. Type the name of that file. Type the name.
Okay.
Now you now press enter. Just press enter. Press enter. Good. You can now see it now. You can see that it created it under your project, under your Python project. So before you can see this file now, you must open Python project next time. And you can see another folder You can see another folder icon before that one that is close to project. Before the pro, you can see another folder. Before the pro, pro. There's another
Yes.
folder. Good. Click on that one. That is where you can open up your click. That is where you can open your project up. So click on it again.
Okay.
Click on it again. But the next time you open this application, you meet it here. Except you now go
Okay.
through the process and try to create another project. So get the logic. You create a project, you create file. You can't go to file direct. All right, I believe that is set. So see us on Tuesday. Make sure you keep practicing. Good night, everyone. Have lovely weekend.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
All right.